Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Celeste Wong. I am one of the features programmers for SF Doc Fest. Really thrilled, excited, honored to be here today in conversation with the Avant Drag assistant director and executive producer, Spiros Patsouras. Thank you so much for joining us, Spiros. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation from the other side of the ocean. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So first of all, congratulations on this incredible film. I've watched it a few times now and it just like floors me every time. I really love it. And I know it's been on quite a journey, so I'm really excited to be showing it to our audiences. But can you like maybe start at the beginning? Tell us a little bit about how you started working with the director Phil Aeropoulos, and yeah, what brought you to this film in the first place?
hmm I've been working with Phil for the past 6 years, I would say, give or take. So we started working together on the first feature that he made with basically his art duo Fivos, who is also behind the script of, or maybe more the voiceover of Avant Drag. I worked for their feature film, which was a queer opera, and it was extremely strange and video arty. And I was completely drawn to this kind of more radical filmmaking and more experimental, especially for the setting of Greece. So we started working together on that film, and after that, I think 1.5 years later, we were still working on another idea that is now in development, but it wasn't really coming through in terms of funding and applications, and especially if you want to make queer films anywhere in the world right now, I think it's completely hard, if not impossible. We decided that we would make a film anyways, and we felt that we really wanted to speak about, let's say, a more pivotal moment that it was shortly after the murder from police of a friend of ours, Zakio, who was also a drag performer in Omonia, in the center of Athens. So we felt that it was really timely to um, make a film to honor her memory and at the same time also her heritage of people that started doing drag because of her. So there was this new wave of performers that started doing drag that was way more political, way more rough, way more distant from the entertainment that we see coming from RuPaul and Drag Race and so on. I think that's what inspired Avant Drag, and especially in that film, it's something that we purely made with a community. Like we had zero budget, we had zero funding for that film, and then we really made it in with a lot of solidarity. We asked really the people closer to us if they'd be interested in joining this project, and it was really an act of also resistance. Like we were like, okay, you don't give us funding to do it, we will do it anyways. And I think that's why it's really a very unapologetic film. Yeah, I feel that's how the film got created, and eventually received a small grant when the film was completed, and we managed to pay everyone, which was really great because most of the people are always in super scarcity of other jobs. Yeah, and when the film was ready, we had our world premiere in Rotterdam in 2024. Um, almost 1.5 years ago. And from that point on, actually, it's been a really heartwarming journey because it traveled all around the world. Like I think at this point we're over 60 international festivals, including festivals next to Antarctica, festivals in Jakarta, festivals in London. So it's been a bit of like There's a festival in Ecuador. So it's been, I think, in all parts of the world, more and so different communities and so different also audiences. So every time that we manage screening to those, it's so special. So I think now that we managed to bring into San Francisco for its Bay premiere, it's particularly touching for us because it's already had a journey with a lot of festivals, and now we bring it to in a way where radical queer film started, like, and we hope that this is also a chance to reignite this passion for queer experimental cinema and not just coming of age. So yeah, for us, I think it's really the right moment, and we're also just 1 week away from shooting our new film. So it's all working in the perfect moment.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all that. I'm so excited about the next film. And it's really wonderful to hear the whole journey that the film has been on, especially knowing that it was so close to not being made. I think that that is really incredible to hear that you had zero budget because there's such a strong aesthetic to this film. And I guess not just aesthetic, but like a spirit that comes through, of course, through the performers and through the content, but also through the art form of the filmmaking. So, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about um, how that came together, if certain things came up more in the edit, or if it was more while you were shooting, because I do think it has such a bold and exciting visual style and yeah, like a palpable spirit to it.
Thank you so much for all this feedback. Honestly, it's truly heartwarming to hear that it resonated like that with you. I mean, the film itself was something that was really quickly made. So we basically had the idea on August of 2020, and then no, sorry. So it was in August, and then we started discussions on September, and then all of this at 2019, and then 20, no, yes, sorry. So 2020, and then in sorry, I'm missing the years. There's a miscalculation. So if we premiered in 2024, just 1 year before, it was the conception of the idea, and then in within 6 months, we had done all the work with the performers, discussing with each of them. Apart from the structure that Phil was thinking of, that the film would have to take for it to be a more of a experimental film, but still in a way anthological. A lot of the scenes were co-created with the performers, so we were either reenacting things that from their everyday life that they do regularly, or things that happened while shooting. So a lot of things, especially since it's a documentary, happened while shooting. There are a lot of things, both good and bad, of course. So um, I think that it was a really quick pace. And of course, things changed also in the editing. I think something that really influenced the aesthetics of this film is that Phil has been working for over 20 years in experimental film. He hasn't done so many feature films, but being an academic, he has researched a lot on different film structures and different kinds of aesthetics. So we employed a lot of this research on that he has done already for this film. So I think it's a work that itself it was really quickly made, but it carries a backbone of research and practice of many years. And I think that's why also it worked out really well, because also a lot of our collaborators are people that are not um, film people per se, but they're all of them work in the arts. They work a lot in DIY performances or crafts things. So everything was really handmade. They were costumes that were sourced from the garbage bins, as you see also in the film. They were actually happening like that, or people that were making with their own hands like a whole wall shrine in like one day with things that they have in their storage room. So I think it's really something that is that carries a lot of the personality and a lot of the personal world of each person. And I think that that's why, apart from the cohesiveness of the anthological part, that and the similarities that different parts have in terms of structure, the aesthetic of each part is different because it reflects the world of the characters. So, yeah, I think that sums it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad you mentioned that collaborative way of working because that really comes through, I think, with each section on each drag performer, their drag artist, their yeah, as a viewer, it really felt like you could really get a sense of their own sensibility and style and however much they wanted to share about their personal
Mm.
life. While still having that consistent flow of the film. I do want to ask you about something else you mentioned previously. I think you mentioned like a desire to show um, the city, Athens, in a different way. And I'm wondering if you can like elaborate on that because I think it's really interesting how it's portrayed in the film.
I think first of all, in terms of the perspective of the characters of the film and of the people, we really try to share their perspective and experience of the city and not everything that they have in a day. So we wanted to have a less objectified perspective, that a lot of documentaries, especially more traditional ones, are lacking on. There is always this habit of capturing everything with a camera, and sometimes this is, at least in our perspective, not so democratic and not so. It's a bit trespassing the boundaries of the person, and I think that giving the chance to the people to really share what their perspective is really unlocked a lot of inspiration and a lot of valuable insight on what they actually have in mind. Because I think in most cases, when you just shoot all the time, you really lack the curation, and not so much the curation, but like the opportunity of another person to really share what they have in their mind and what they have experienced. Because when you just capture all the time, you, I don't know, you share your own perspective in a way as a documentary filmmaker. Apart from that, I think this pivotal moment that I mentioned earlier with the murdering of the that drug performer in the center of Athens, and all the bad mouthing from the media that followed, and generally the whole situation of the political situation of Greece for the past, I would say, there's a decade, has been quite ambivalent. So there's always, for foreigners, there's always this land of democracy and freedom and good weather and nice food. And then in reality, the experience of many people is quite different. So there's extreme racism, transphobia, there's extreme austerity. And of course, all of that influence both the person itself, but also their work. So I think this is quite evident to also the movie, to when we're discussing about the means that the characters have in their um, capacity to perform, the spaces that they have to perform, the safety they have to work on the street. Like, because even the fact that we each performer, apart from one, had these scenes that they're working on the street in daylight, and it's actually activist work, because there was a lot of danger, there was a lot of comments, there was moments of real activism and life-threatening. So I think we really wanted to capture the city with all its nuances. Of course, talking about how there's things that influence us from a historical past, and we often want to honor it with through our art. But um, Greece, like many, let's say, more historically heavy countries, tend to hype to focus their cultural capital in preserving this past and neglecting anything new. So I think we really wanted to show also in this film, and to an extent also in the previous one, but in other ways, that it's a country that is both a hotbed of creativity and at the same time a zone of danger, a zone. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. Um, I want to ask you about the dinner party scene at the end. It's so moving to watch and so fun and powerful. And yeah, I just want to ask you about what it was like to be in that room and to film that. And yeah, if you had like a specific approach to how that day was gonna go. Yeah, just tell us a little bit more about what it was like to shoot that scene.
I think it was maybe the hardest day of our filming. I mean, also it's a film that in its total it was just shot in 20 days. So itself the film was quite hard. But I think that day was the hardest because many of the people had not met before or they had only talked through social media. So of course, in the beginning, there was a lot of awkwardness to get through, and we had done a small. I mean, of course, with everyone, we had done already like a discussion. So there's going to be this scene in the end, and these are some themes that we would like to talk about and to discuss, and what are your thoughts on this, and so on. But of course, you see, I think in the film a quite um, collected version of the actual shooting. So of course it was way more extended, and there was a lot of other themes. So we tried to, in a way, um, rough it up in the themes that are maybe more relevant to what the film already talked about, and to be able to, in a way, wrap up the film. Um, I think in a way it was also something that we wanted to pay tribute to, again, to Zakio, who was the person missing that table, and at the same time also talk about symbols, because this dinner table is in a way like um, a symbol of these gatherings, and I mean even in religion and so on. So I think we wanted to have it as a very special part of the film that is, in a way, also aesthetically different, because it's more of a discussion and more and less of a testimony.
Absolutely. And then one last question. I you touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but I did want to ask about the voiceover narration. Um, because that's also such a beautiful thread throughout the film that connects it. And I just wanted to hear more about the creation of it and the ideas behind it. So if you could speak a little bit to that.
I mean, I think the best person to speak about that is Fivos, who actually wrote it. But the voiceover was actually written somewhere in the middle of the editing process, so it was not already composed before, or written before. So what actually happened is that when we had reached almost a rough cut of the film, then Phil shared that screener with Fivos, who lives in London, and they started exchanging ideas on basically bridges between the parts of the the parts of the film, and also things that in a way overlap over each other, or themes that they wanted to more um, to guide the viewer into a specific theme and so on. So I think that it was quite important that we already had shot and edited the material, so he could see what the people were talking about, and then he could in a way deduct the meanings and the concept behind that, and connect them with each other. So I think it's something that really binds the film together, and at the same time it's also a small break for the viewer to really not only relate with the people but also understand what they're talking about. So it's also contextualizing in a way, in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like we could talk about this forever, but I'll wrap it up here, and folks can keep up with the film. Maybe if you want to just mention if there's a way for folks to keep up with the film and let other people know. I have a feeling our audiences will want to spread the word. So, is there somewhere they can follow on social media or on a website or something?
Actually, absolutely. First of all, social media is something we really worked on. As said earlier, we did everything really DIY. So we were posting, me, Phil, and Fivos were running the accounts. And of course, you can find us on Instagram on avant.drag.film. But also, actually, I can already share with you that there's a few places that the film will be available online from end of June. So for people that want to rewatch the film or to have a bit more chances for it, I will just tell you now. You give me a second because I'm a person that really has notes, and you
Yeah.
know, production has to be a bit more organized. So there's a couple places that, especially in the US, people will be able to watch. So the um, the first place is actually Cineverse will be distributing the film in North America and Canada. It's a company that collaborates with a lot of streamers, so I'm sure that it will be during June a quite celebratory moment to watch that. And then also Deco is LGBT streamer, both in the same areas and then also in the UK. And last but not least, and my personal favorite for especially documentary films is the platform True Story, where on the 20th of June, where we will have actually the middle of our new film production. So it will be a really nice date to celebrate with us. It's going to be streaming at True Stories. So I think it will be a chance for everyone to watch it if they want to also share it with friends. And really, we welcome everyone that writes us their opinion afterwards on social media. We read all the reviews, and it's been actually really, really inspiring because from the Q&As and from the discussions that we had during the journey of Avant Drag is what actually now evolved into our new film. So it's actually that's super inspiring to us, and it's what actually makes now the new film.
Wow, that's very exciting to hear. Thank you so much for everything. Spiros Patsaras, thank you for joining us and for sharing your film with us. And yeah, hope you thank you all for watching this.
Thank you so much too. Have a good afternoon.